There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad you can make it. And tonight we will be talking for the next hour about membership. And I want to make sure and tell you a little bit about Audley. He'll be our speaker tonight. Audley joined Rotary International. Okay, went to work for them September of 2019. So he's been with them a couple of years now. His official title is Regional Membership Officer. Now he serves all of our zone 34. Remember that includes Georgia, Florida, and all the Caribbean and Puerto Rico. But he also serves zone 33, which is all the way up to Pennsylvania and Maryland. So serves all of them too. What that means for you is he sees a whole bunch of stuff. He doesn't see just like what's in 6900. He sees stuff from all over. He sees a lot of different approaches. If you've got an idea for membership and you want to run it by him, this is a great person to do it because he's seen a whole bunch of membership programs. He's seen things that have worked. He's seen things that didn't work and maybe saw the tweaks that made them work. So he is one of the most valuable assets. In fact, all the folks that work for Rotary International, remember, they all work for you, but he is one of the most valuable assets around, especially when you want to talk about membership. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Audley Knight.
Hey, good day, everyone. And thank you, Margie, and thank you, DG George, for the invitation. And I'm actually seeing my president-elect here with me, and he's my president coming in, and that's July 2022. So apart from being on staff, I'm actually also a Rotarian since 2006. I've been around for a little bit. So today, the idea is to just share some thoughts around membership. I'm going to give you an update as to what's happening globally, because I couldn't be from RI and I'll share some of that information. And toss around some information we got from a survey and from our surveys that might help you as a president-elect going into 2022. Share some thoughts around retention and engagement and some club models. So the whole thing shouldn't be more than about 20-25 minutes. And hopefully we have some time after for Q&A. So please feel free to ask any questions, whatever I don't know. I'll definitely bug PDG Margie on that because I'm sure she knows quite a bit as well. So let's just dive right into it. So globally, this is where we are from our global population. And over the past 10 years, Asia has grown from 26 to 34%. Canada, the Caribbean, and the US have dropped from 32 to 27. Africa, Europe, and the Middle East have kept around 25. Latin America around 8. Great Britain and Ireland has dropped from 5 to 3, and Australia, New Zealand has dropped from 4 to 3. So that 26 to 34%, that represents a net growth of some 70,000 Rotarians. And Canada, the Caribbean they're actually growing. So if it wasn't for the Caribbean, that 27% would probably be a little bit lower. And what we've been seeing over the past 3 or 4 years is that 1% shift almost every year. So last year, Asia was 33. The year before, Asia was 35. We're a little bit concerned about Great Britain and Ireland because the average age that side of the world is over 70. So let's see what happens when the new president-elect comes in after Jennifer Jones. Here are real numbers. Now, we track our year every 1 July, and 1 July 2021, we're at 1,162,000. That was a net loss of about 12,000 Rotarians. I want you to keep that 12,000 in mind. I'm going to mention something about that in another 2 or 3 slides. When I checked the numbers last night, actually, we were up 31,000. So right now at 1,193,000. 36,000 clubs, that's a little bit more from last year, and globally we're at 24%, the wonderful ladies in Rotary. Rotaract has a more gender parity for a number of years now. They're at 51, and 20,000 Rotaractors from last year as well. So with an increase of about 17,000 over the previous year. So if any of you, the Rotary clubs have Rotaract clubs that you have sponsored, try and ensure that the Rotaract information is keyed in, because we really do believe that figure is actually a little bit more than 220, because Rotaract still requires some self-reporting. And as leaders for your clubs, you can key the Rotaract information in. Once you've keyed a Rotaract club president and a Rotaract club secretary, they can then in turn key their Rotaract club members in. But so again, going into this year, speak to your current president just to ensure that we have up-to-date Rotaract information. Because again, we think that's actually much less. This is what North America looks like over the past 10 years. Asia has grown by 70,000. We have lost 60,000 members over the past 10 years, and it's actually still trending downward. So we have some specific initiatives around membership for North America. That's not happening in the rest of the region and across the globe. And one thing that you may have heard of is an innovative club advocate that works with your district membership chair. That ICE works to form brand new clubs. So I can speak about that if you need some more information on it. This is specific to our district, and I can say our district because I am a Rotarian in 6900. The graph in the middle is a 10-year chart. The light blue line gives you year to date as of October of 31st of each year. The dark blue is 1 July. So we're really coming from close to 4,400 members. 5 years ago, we're 4,290. Right now, we're 3,932, 3,900. That's less 300 members in just 5 years. Now, if you consider that, that's less persons to come in and do good in our community, less hands on deck, and us trying to find persons for presidents and secretaries going forward. So when we say we need to grow, it's really to assist us in helping our community. More persons on deck, especially with clubs under 25, that's where it tends to be, you have less capacity to do good and to find leaders to continue going forward. So again, thank you for taking on the mantle as president-elects coming in next year. Here are some more numbers. And I guess the folks on the call who are numbers people would love this stuff. Last year, we lost 150,000 members. This is global. And we gained 138,000. The tricky number here, and as president-elects going in, 13,000 left before their first year. So once new Rotarians come in, I'm going to share some information as to why members join and leave, but 13,000 left within the first year. 90% of our prospective members are inspired by our history and mission, what we do, who we are. A little under half said, this perfectly aligns with my goals and values. I'm not going anywhere. But over 3 years or within 3 years, a little over half leave. So as president-elects going in, consider that as well. Look at your members that have just joined this year. A little under half may not be around and they may leave because of unmet expectations and so on. So I'll share that information with you. Now, this is some information from a survey that we did that was completed in December of 2020, right around with the pandemic. And members said they left because of time, cost, and unmet expectations. And unmet expectations is in relation to mainly the club environment. We have to make our clubs fantastic. We want to be there. Reasons why court members may leave when we ask these particular questions, and most didn't like virtual meetings. The cost, time, and lack of impact. Now, another reason why Rotarians join, and you'll see this in about 2 or 3 other slides, lack of impact is in direct relation to projects in your community. 9% said, has the pandemic made it more likely that you will leave? Now, that's a specific question we had around what's happening now globally with the pandemic. So when we looked at that number, that represented about 107,000 Rotarians. So when we're assessing this in February, March of this year, we were anticipating a net loss of close to 100,000 Rotarians. Remember, our net loss year over year was just 12. So we must have done something right to engage, retain, and attract members, because the punchline here is it could have been much worse. When we looked at the data as well, especially for our zones 33 and 34, we look at an attrition rate, which is normal attrition, the amount of persons that leave your Rotary clubs or Rotarians each year. Last year, during COVID, we lost less, meaning the pandemic didn't affect our membership in relation to members leaving. 2 years prior, our number for attrition or Rotarians that have left was actually higher. Now, this is specific to a survey again that was done closer to this year, January, February of this year. The number one reason for a good club experience, friendship and personal interactions, which is just saying you need to like the people you're working with. Getting involved in local community, that comes right back again to local community projects. Learning new things from guest speakers and discussing interesting topics. Well-structured meetings, meetings that start and end on time. You'd be surprised how important that is. And as a president-elect going in, have that be your legacy. You start the meeting on time and end on time. And leadership that listens to and engage with members. So these are some of the feedback that we got globally from what makes a good club experience. So keep this in mind when you're planning for your year as well. And it's also similar for Rotaractors as well. Why members join? The reason for joining, the number one reason for joining and staying actually, is local community service. Projects, hands-on projects, getting stuff done. Also friendship and fellowships. Persons are also looking for professional connections and networking. 85% of our Rotarians found Rotary through other Rotarians. So what this is telling us, most of the time, all our existing Rotarians have to do is just ask our other friends or neighbors with a Rotarian heart to come to a meeting or come to a service project. More than likely they'll join. How welcome do you feel? This number we liked when we looked at information, 82% said they felt very welcome. That was very refreshing because that number was actually a little bit less a few years ago. Now, coming in as a president-elect, planning your year ahead, I wanted to share some thoughts and ideas around the membership life cycle. Now, ideally, hopefully, your club is preparing a membership development plan or some kind of documented structure about membership and have detailed action items around recruitment, onboarding, engagement, retention, and reactivation. You could do something in 1 page, you could do 2 pages, but at least have something documented. So when you're handing over the mantle a year and a half from now, you have something documented. So there's some kind of continuity. I'm going to share some thoughts around recruitment and engagement. And I'm going to just remind everybody about this reactivation piece, because a lot of times we don't pay a lot of attention to it. But the data we have as well suggests that 1 in 3 Rotarians that leave want to come back. So as your president-elect coming in, especially for the Rotarians, for those Rotarians who may have left but still live in the community, now is the time to reach out to them, to say, look, I'm taking on the mantle in come 1 July 2022. We need you. We need you back. You could do some kind of reunion meeting, invite all the persons in via Zoom to say, look, I'm planning my year ahead. I'm 7 months out. We need you. When I saw you as a Rotarian 3 years ago, you were so active, so engaging. What happened? And a rule of thumb, well, a wording, a jargon that I've heard that I liked, which is Rotarians leave a club, not Rotary, because they can always go to another club. So we have to make sure that our club experience is fantastic, not to have those persons go away. But again, on the reactivation piece, reach out to those Rotarians that may have left, especially for our club size of 30, 40, 70. If you get 5 or 6 of those Rotarians back, that's a good way to grow your club, and especially Rotarians with experience. So let's share some thoughts around recruitment. And I saw this and thought of looking at Rotary's areas of focus as a guide to recruitment. Consider doing a diversity survey, or our older Rotarians may look at it or call it a classification survey. That's okay. Because back in the day, you could only have 1 attorney and 1 real estate agent. Those days are done. But from a diversity standpoint, it's not just about regular wording for diversity, it's also professions. And can you imagine, you may have a doctor in our clubs, you may have a hotel administrator, but how many nurses do we have? We may have a school principal, but how many teachers? Can you imagine reaching out to someone or having a discussion with a nurse and say, one of Rotary's global areas of focus is disease prevention, maternal and child health. Now, wouldn't that excite someone to say, look, I didn't realize, because most of the times, most of our community really don't know. Public image and promotion, that's key, because we know about Rotary, we love Rotary, we sell it to ourselves, but again, our wider community just not aware. And I underlined in a LinkedIn page because most of us have a Facebook page and possibly a website. I was speaking to a club about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they grew their membership by 40% in 4 or 5 months because they had a club-specific LinkedIn page, similar to Facebook, similar to your website. LinkedIn is a business professional networking page, and because they posted their projects and their service projects and social on LinkedIn, persons asked to join. They got excited and wanted to join. Now, that's a different approach to tell the world on professional networks about who we are and what we do. But again, also nonprofits, church organizations, chamber, business association, they're also right places for persons with a Rotarian heart to really reach out to them and invite them to Rotary. Because most of those folks between the nonprofit and the chamber and business associations, they are basically a Rotarian. They just haven't been assigned to a club yet. But consider that LinkedIn page, and I've seen some real good results on that. And again, most of us would have a Facebook page and a website, but try that club-specific LinkedIn page. It works. From an engagement standpoint, flexibility is key. Your year coming up as the president-elect, you have a clean sheet of paper. You're assessing things from the outside. You can consider changing your meeting schedule, vary your meeting format. We've seen clubs have a meeting once a month at a Rotarian's place of business. Suppose someone is a plant manager or something, go and do a tour for that Rotary meeting. Take some food with you. If someone has a restaurant, go to the restaurant at their downtime. Have the Rotary meeting there. Mix things up. It's a good way to keep members engaged. If your club still has attendance requirements, that's okay. Rotary doesn't require it. We look at more an engagement standpoint. Multiple membership types. Now, this is something for a president-elect to consider if you have not explored this yet in your club existing. For Rotary, for RI, you just need to be an honorary Rotarian or active. But how you create that active Rotarian is totally up to you. Rotary clubs are autonomous. We're seeing things like an online-only member. We're seeing things like a service project-only member where they're not able to come to a regular meeting, but they're there at every service project and they adjust the dues accordingly. So that's something you could consider, especially if it's a Rotarian that's moved away or work has really gotten very challenging and they're not able to come to a physical meeting. Sign them up to be an online member. You can then also adjust the dues, especially if your club includes a meal in your dues. Continue virtual or hybrid meetings, it works. Joint projects, club partnerships, continue to balance fellowship service and service projects. District events, PETS conference and projects. I'm telling you, if you've not been to a district conference, please go. Most Rotarians really get to drink the Kool-Aid at that point. Once you go to a PETS or a district conference. The next thing is, the next international convention is an hour-and-a-half flight away from us. Normally it goes around the globe. It's gonna be closer this year. Hopefully by then, the world is a little bit easier for those Rotarians across the globe to come to the US. Hopefully their countries will allow them to go back. But look at it this way, it's going to be the most reasonable cost for an international convention because it's literally just a few states over. Check it out. Celebrate your members. This one I've seen some clubs do, and it really does a lot to assist with engagement. I've seen clubs do, well, the norm hopefully is you celebrate members' birthdays. It could be a Rotary birthday or anniversaries. Announce it at your club meeting. It works. But also I've seen clubs do a Rotarian of the month. A simple certificate that probably costs $1 to print. But you'd be surprised how wonderful and how engaging that is. And it's also a good way for you to consider how to identify a Rotarian of the year by doing a Rotarian of the month as well. But most importantly on the engagement piece is do a survey. Please find the time to do some kind of survey. Find what your members need and what your members are thinking. It's crucial. We have our survey that we can share with you called the Rotary Club Health Check. It's a big 3-4 page document. It has a whole bunch of questions there, questions that you could use to create a survey. You could always do some stuff online, which we do suggest that clubs do. Here's a sample of one, and I can share these samples with you once you request it. Here's a sample of an online survey that our club did, 12 or 13 questions, really, really cool, and the information was collated. If for some reason though, you may have members who are not necessarily into this online thing, what I've seen work is a wonderful slip of paper that I like to use, and it's called What You'd Like to Start, Stop, and Continue, with a line for comments. Leave it at the front with your side once they're coming into the club, put it at the tables, leave some pens around. You'd be surprised the level of information we get with this little sheet of paper. Try and have it done anonymously so club members will feel comfortable to, put their real thoughts down. I've seen stuff on this that says start the meeting on time. I've seen stuff to say the food has not been good, too many projects, too little projects. I've seen a 3-hour club assembly with information generated on this little sheet. So based on the size of this, a letter size people would generate about 6 of these little sheets. So if you have it in person, or if you're meeting in person or hybrid, and you could just say, leave it on the tables, drop it in the cart bucket on your way out, and you're good to go. But again, it's really a good way to just get some simple information from your Rotarians. This particular survey we did recently, this is probably March or April of this year. And we checked and surveyed about factors that influence member satisfaction. And the number one reason for member satisfaction, again, is comfort with our other club members. Other than that is positive impact with the community, confidence in club leadership, and engaging club members. So we found as members' comfort level increased, they are 100%, 150% more likely to increase their level of satisfaction. And if they're not comfortable with the other club members, they are 2 to 4 times more likely to leave. So doing projects, doing socials, interacting with folks, and you really get to know your fellow Rotarians once you're rolling up your sleeves and doing a service project, because that's when we really get to know who our Rotarians are. And there's so many things that happened this year. The clubs that grew this year did a lot of smaller hands-on projects. That picture on the bottom right is a club that's assisting with vaccinations. Something that's already in place, Rotarians has assisted with signing people up. So there's several things that we can do as well. I want to share a little bit about the club models. You may have heard about them, but I'm going to share 1 or 2 thoughts on a particular one. But we have our traditional clubs, or e-clubs, passport clubs. A passport club is just a club that can operate in person or totally virtual. All of the clubs in the world were operating as passport clubs over the past year. Cause-based clubs have become very popular, where you have a club specific around a particular cause, and that could be an online club or in person. We're seeing ending human trafficking. We're seeing veteran clubs specific around a particular cause. Alumni-based clubs, corporate, and Rotaract. But satellite clubs have been very successful, especially in North America. And this is how the satellite club works. So depending on the size of your club and what's happening in your club dynamic as a president-elect, you can consider it. How the satellite club works is a group of Rotarians who cannot come to your regular meeting for breakfast or lunch or dinner. All they're doing is meeting at another day and another time. That's it. So a satellite club member or a satellite club would not have a president, they would have a chair. And they are still part of your traditional or your parent club. So say you have a club size of 70, but 20 persons can't make the meetings, but they can go for a coffee shop on a Saturday morning and that's the meeting. So we're finding persons who are not able to come to a meeting, but they would, other than that, they would possibly leave your club. They're just meeting at another day and another time, and satellite clubs are formed. What we saw grow tremendously, especially up in North Carolina, there's a service-only satellite club that has formed. This particular club had 63 members, and they grew to 134 in about 13 months, because they appeal to 2 things based on what the data is showing us. Persons want to give back to their community, and they want to have some fun doing it. So this club created a satellite club for just service projects. So they're not attending any meetings, but they come to every social, and whenever there's a project that needs to be done, they're there. So it's like having a special forces team, just dealing with projects. But what we're seeing is these persons also come to the meetings, they're interacting with the traditional club members, and relationships and networking has formed out of that. So again, consider a satellite club, and based on the level of flexibility that's here, you could have a cause-based satellite club, you could have a e-club only satellite club, and all of those members are part of your traditional club. So once we see, or once we do the reporting, you'll see all your membership of the satellite club and your traditional club on one report. So I just wanted to share that with you. We can speak about that some more if you wish. But I just want to close with sharing some resources that's available to you. The RMO rules have a membership resource guide, is Rotary.org, but this particular site, you can Google it, just key in Rotary Zones 33 and 34. I love it. There's tons of resource libraries there. There are forms, there's applications, there are presentations, templates, strategies. So check it out. Anything you can think of is on that site. The good thing is, why I like it as well, the search engine is really, really cool. Whatever you key in, it operates pretty similar to Google sites when you're searching. So check it out. Rotary6900.org. Obviously, your district governor, and DGE George is with us as well. Your assistant governor, your district membership chair. And 6900 has subcommittee chairs as well. I can give you the list of those persons if you wish. So apart from your district membership chair, there's a district subcommittee chair specifically around new club development, engagement, and recruitment. So if you need specific information, working with Jacqueline, who is your current DMC, there are several other subcommittee chairs that are assisting as well too. And of course, the Learning Center. Once you have some time, go on, there's tons of information there. And also what you can do, the Learning Center, and to have a My Rotary account, you don't have to be a Rotarian to do that. So if you have a prospective Rotarian, point them to Rotary.org, and that could be a way to engage them as well before going forward. So I just wanted to share the collective resources with you. You have tons of resources right here. District 6900 is one of the largest districts in our both peer zones, and we do pretty well. We are close to 4,000 members. So that's it for me. The idea was not to take too long with this presentation and talking. I'm going to stop sharing my screen shortly, but I live right here. I'm just around the corner in between Kennesaw and Ackworth. Please take my mobile number. So if there's anything at all that you may need, give me a call, send me a text, or shoot me an email. I'd be more than happy to assist in any way at all that I can. So again, thank you, PDG Margie, for the invitation, and I'll open it up for thoughts, comments, and questions.
I have a question. What about with all these different ways, especially with the satellite clubs, what about the dues structure? Because the dues is something that's been, you know, said a couple of, several times about being a hindrance to joining.
And that's one of the reasons why a person said they will leave, because of cost. But the satellite structure, it's totally dependent on what your club would require. What we're finding is most of the clubs would include a meal in their dues. So the average cost in North America is about $1,200 a year. We're seeing as low as $1,000, and probably has $1,400, $1,500, $1,600. Once you remove the meals out of it, that annual dues going to the bare bones would be under $200. We're seeing clubs include even a $25, say $100 for the foundation, and still coming in at like $250, $300. So that is totally dependent on what the club would prefer to do. And we're seeing a few clubs do that, have satellite club members or service only members or online only members. And that meal component is removed from their due structure. And if you are having a meeting with a meal involved, you just pay for a meal as you go at that time.
Okay.
Hopefully everything was clear as mud.
Oh, it was very good. Margie, you said you're going to share the presentation with us?
Yes, this presentation is being recorded and it'll be uploaded to the District 6900 YouTube channel. I'll upload it tomorrow. I'll send everybody, all the PEs, a link. And I will also include an attachment. I'll make sure you get it too, Audley.
Sure.
It's a way to help you think about classifications that might not be represented and how you can do the follow-up. It's a form you would give to all of your members so that they can think about it.
And what we're seeing a few clubs do this year, especially with President Cheka's Each One Bring One membership initiative, a few clubs have asked each member to write the name of a prospective member. They can hang on to it, but it's like a commitment, and ask each member to invite that person to a club meeting or a social or a project. And we're seeing clubs grow from there.
Yeah, oddly, is community core still a thing? I'm interested in it.
It is. I don't have a lot of information on it, but with the level of flexibility these days, clubs are operating like that. So a satellite club could be operating like a community core, but we're not seeing a lot of that anymore. And I can check some more information and share that with the group as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a
Anyone has
link
any
up.
membership types that they use? Anyone here using any kind of alternative membership type?
Well, I think we're doing young professional in ours, so it's anybody under 30 is considerably less.
That's something to consider as well.
And my club is doing family memberships, corporate memberships, and we have a satellite passport club, and they all have different structures, different due structures.
How are you doing your corporate memberships? If we have multiple people from one corporation come, wouldn't that be, wouldn't we charge them more at that point?
No, we started to find, well, we don't. We started defining it by the vote. So for a corporate membership, you only have one vote. That means you pay dues for one person, but up to 4 people
Right.
could share that seat.
There's a nice structure on the guide to corporate membership that we can share as well, Margie, with about 2 or 3 different examples of the due structure for that corporate membership.
Can I Google it?
Sure.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
Or I
real
can
quick.
share it to you. I can share it with you when we're done as well, so you could keep it share it as a follow-up email thereafter. But we are seeing satellite clubs really been very beneficial, especially for the club size of 60, 70 to 80, where most of those folks, you may have folks having a challenge coming to the meetings, but they really don't want to leave. They just have a challenge coming to or visiting that particular meeting day or time. Again, they're just meeting at another day and another time. We're seeing real growth with that. And with new satellite clubs and brand new clubs forming as well. So folks, we've always heard anecdotally that if you're going to be poaching from other clubs and we're competing, the data that we got was when brand new clubs are formed, 88% are brand new to Rotary. So if you're getting any pushback with forming a brand new club or forming a new satellite club, that's a real statistic you can share.
Well, oddly, you talked about bringing back, former Rotarians back into the fold. That was one of the reasons my club started the Satellite Passport Club. We reached out to all the Rotarians that had left our club over the last 10, 15 years and invited all of them, and we got some back.
Excellent. And
I have a
there's-
question.
go ahead.
John,
I have a question about the corporate, Margie. Roswell's exploring this also. And you say up to 4 people, but doesn't one member have to be the registered primary member with RI?
Correct.
yes.
All right, so if you have like up to 4 people, can they all come to your meeting? Do they have to pay extra for meals? How does that work?
Oh, meals are not included in our dues. That when we became a hybrid back in 2017, that was the first thing we had to do. We had to separate the meals. So yes, all 4 people can show up. The biggest stipulation is if there's a vote that day for anything, only one of them gets to vote.
Okay.
Margie, also on the corporate, did you say, okay, if all the members come, one of them gets we do ours, one of them gets a meal, the other ones have to pay, their meal for their meal,
See, all of ours have to pay because we separated all that.
separate it.
Yeah, but that's something luckily that the club can determine on their own as to what works, especially in relation to where you meet, because most clubs may have a meal included, but some clubs may have all pay as you go. So it really just depends on what the cost structure is. But again, that's totally up to the club because all the clubs are autonomous and you do what works for you.
And if you haven't pulled the chat box up, please do. There's several links in there to things that Audley shared with you. There's a link for Community Core, for the corporate membership, for the zone website, the club health check, and of course, Audley's contact information.
Sure. There's one thing that I've seen that our club has been doing is called Rotary Discovery Hour. Again, my background is banking and sales. So when they told me the numbers or the success rate or the hit rate, I got excited. What they're doing with this Rotary Discovery Hour is, especially from a recruitment standpoint, the mindset is to, instead of inviting a prospective Rotarian first to a meeting, they invite them first to this informational meeting instead of a brand new meeting. So the idea is don't ask for a marriage, ask them out on a date. So it works well for a breakfast, for a lunch club or an evening club, where an hour before the actual meeting, they go through Rotary, what Rotary is, the 4-way test, and share some projects about that particular club. And then invite them, if you wish to stick around for a meeting, is going to be starting right now. And then they invite them. So, because the feedback they got was somebody coming up and talking about PP and DG and body stands doing this 4-way test and hitting his gong, and somebody brand new is like, whoa, what's going on here? So the Rotary Discovery Hour, before COVID, they had a 50% success rate. So if 4 persons turned up, 2 persons joined. What got me excited is when COVID happened, they had an 80 to 100% success rate when they did this Rotary Discovery Hour via Zoom. So once you go onto that Zones 3334 website, click in the search box Rotary Discovery Hour, you'll get the PowerPoint template and you can tweak it on your own as well. So again, if you're thinking of recruitment, I was a little skeptical, but when they told me the 50% success rate, I said, okay, then there must be something, going on here. So
Yeah.
consider that as part of a possibility for a recruitment drive, especially if you have a good spot where you're meeting, especially for a lunch club or evening club. It can be done at a different day and a different time as well. So if you have a good relationship with your venue and you're saying to them, look, separate room, every quarter I'm going to have this information session, more than likely they'll say yes, kind of a thing. So check it out, see if it's beneficial to you. There's some good slides and graphics there as well, so that you can also pull.
Awesome. Don't be shy, y'all. How many times do you get an officer from Rotary International that you can grill?
I'll jump in. Question I
Tag him
have,
every
I was
week.
intrigued by the flexibility that you're showing on due structure. I did have one member approach me whose father was elderly and fixed income, and the son ended up paying the dues for the father. And he just asked, is there an option for like the older members to have some kind of discount or relief? What have you seen there?
So again, I didn't hear the last part of it, the question.
The question was, you mentioned, somebody mentioned a discount for those under 30. What about older members who might be on a fixed income but still want to come to the club meetings?
That's perfect. And again, that's why I love Rotary and the autonomy that it has, because each club can operate on their own and do what's best. The other piece of it is, and once you're more than likely as a president, like you might be on the current board or you're going to be on the existing board, clubs that include a meal in their dues, if those persons don't turn up, that funds would more than likely go into the admin for the club. So from a board level, those kind of discussions you can have for situations like that. Or you could have a retirement membership type to say, look, fixed income, once you're 65 and older, we're going to structure the dues for you a little bit different. So what works for you once you're sitting with the current president, if it's something you want to implement going into your year, have a discussion now, look at what it costs per member in relation to RI district and so on, and have the discussion now so you could implement it prior to your year, 1 July 2022. but there's flexibility there, and it's totally dependent on what you and the board would decide on and vote on.
Thank you for your time as far as getting us this information is great. But I do have a question in regards to the corporate membership. Is that membership fees paid by the individuals or paid by the company?
Go ahead, Margie.
As I say, for my club, I think we have 3 different corporate members. And in their cases, it happens to all be paid by the organization. But I'm not sure it matters. If there's a CEO willing to fund it for himself or herself and 3 other members, cool, I'll take a personal check.
Very good. But also now, if one of those members left the organization, someone else could come in and fill in for that particular person as well. Fantastic. Okay, great.
All right. And I like the document. We're going to share it after, which is a guide to corporate membership. It has about 3 or 4 different options to how you can do it, but you can also tweak that as well. There's just tons of flexibility to do what works for you. I was having a discussion with a club in Florida, and their corporate membership was way more expensive than the regular membership. And I'm like, wow, how is this working? But they were selling it to the corporate entity as a marketing tool as well. So once you sign up the corporate entity and you have 3 or 4 corporate members, any other material going forward, your company logo is already placed on it for the club. So they sold it that way as well. So website, Facebook, sponsorship. So if you're doing a major fundraiser, they're already a gold sponsor. You give them a discount for a platinum sponsor. So it's really developing a relationship with that corporate entity, not just for members, but also for sponsorships going forward. So when I looked at it, I asked, I said, this is a little bit more expensive. And when you gave me that breakdown, I said, hey, that's kind of neat. So a company, you'd have to see what's best for that company, what's in it for me. Because if I'm a small business with a printer, I want to know, why am I sending 2 or 3 persons and have a cost structure of X coming out of my budget each year? If I'm seeing a benefit from it, from a marketing standpoint, that might be a little bit more attractive.
Great. That's good news. Thank you.
Sure.
When would you recommend I love the idea of the start, stop, and continue process as far as getting to know you first, your members, and also getting their input without them having to so-called say who they are and that kind of stuff anonymously.
As a president-elect for you, possibly January of this year might be good, because we're November, December, we're in Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? So the mindset is really gone. But say, for example, you do something January with the approval or the guidance from your current president, because you don't want to do stuff because there's a current person in charge, and just say to the current president, this is feedback for you, the other half of your year, and this is also feedback for me to prepare for 1 July 2020. So you could do something in January, give the current club an opportunity to amend or fix anything that you'll get from that feedback structure, and possibly another one in, say, March, April, or May of this year. But in my mind, it's good to do a larger survey, possibly virtual, electronically, or something a little bit hard, longer, a little more detail, asking specifically about foundation giving and club experience and projects and so on. So an annual survey with a little more detail might be wise. This start, stop, continue one could just be a pulse check every 6 months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, gotcha.
But if nothing was ever done and your club is like, look, I don't like this virtual thing, and you need to get something, and at least you'll get some feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, funny enough, when we did it at my club, one of the major feedback was, because we're a breakfast club, the bacon was crispy and nice, and hey, they made sure to keep crispy bacon on the menu. A week, I think it was a little soggy, or 1 week it was missing, and we're like, hey. But again, I've seen really, really good stuff come from that start, stop, continue. So a little bit more detail once a year might be good. A pulse check using this start, stop, continue might be a good idea every 6 months.
Yeah, we also now have cheese grits every week.
Yeah, because that's again, that's good because you know you can't have a meeting without food. Whether it's a board meeting or a social, you have to have some food involved. It really does help. But so getting information from your members, how they're feeling, goes a long way. And once you get information back, acknowledging the membership that you got this information by possibly standing up and saying, we got your feedback, acknowledging and recognizing and thanking them for the feedback is also good, because persons may make a note and don't hear anything from the club leadership and they're like, well, hey, they really didn't care. So responding to it is even more important. And once you have 10 or 20 different responses, you can comfortably say, as a president-elect, 80% of our members said X, 70% of our members said Y. It's a really good way to really share information. So if you want to do some changes or something radical or want to present a particular idea, finding out from your members what they would prefer and then speaking definitively to say, we requested information from our membership and our full members said X. Because remember, and I'm not sure if all of you may have experienced this, there may be a senior retiring in the back of the room that said, no, we're not doing that. This is how we've always done it. And when I was president, so on, you know what I mean? So with data, that would give you a little bit more credibility to make changes, because you're speaking on behalf of the members at that point.
The one thing I would consider is possibly not doing it. We're giving people the option to put their name on there. You know, we were about 60 people, and when we did this last survey, and 1 and 2 and 3 people, there was never consistency. We had one person say this and one person say that and one person say another thing. If they do it anonymously, you can't really go back to them. So giving them the option to put their name on it at least allows you to go back and talk about what they're suggesting, especially if you only have one person saying one thing. Oddly, and I have debates about surveys.
Hey, Audley, you mentioned, do you have some sample surveys that we could use? Because part of the value of the surveys, if you keep using the same one year after year and sort of almost make it like an annual engagement study, you can sort of track if you're making progress or not.
Absolutely.
And so I see that we've got a club health check, but that wasn't really a survey. Are there other things that you can share?
Sure, I'll share them with Margie as well.
Thank you.
There's an electronic one I could share as well too. I just like the format and the look of it, especially for non-tech savvy Rotarians, something simple and easy. SurveyMonkey is also free. Once you start to put a logo on it and so on, that's where there's a cost factor to it. But there's Google Docs and all these other nice fancy ones. But the simplest thing for your membership would be good.
Yeah, I was more interested in the sort of the standard, maybe some good sort of standard questions and things like
Sure.
that. Anything so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak.
Yeah,
It's
I'll share that with you. There's a document that I have in Word with about 30 or 40 or 50 questions, and you just pick what you may need. And if you're creating a online survey, it's possibly easier just to copy and paste it as opposed to be typing in each time. So I'll share that with Margie as well. But some questions that may miss you, that you're like, wow, I never thought of that. That document might be able to help you with that.
No, that sounds good. Thank you.
You can do online surveys out of Google Docs too. They might not have that limitation that SurveyMonkey does.
Yeah. But planning ahead for your year is awesome. At this point, do you guys have an idea if you have a membership chair in place yet? Because it might be wise to have one that's doing it for more than 1 year for continuity, because the membership chair is really, really key. And possibly have a membership committee more than just one, just to spread the work around. That helps.
I'm probably going to bring Vera in, oddly.
Excellent. All right. If there's any more questions, then that's fine. Yeah, my mobile number is in the chat, Margie.
No, I did not put your mobile number in, but
Let me do that right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So I'll be sending out an email tomorrow with the YouTube link and with all of the forms that Audley's talked about and is going to be sending me after this is over. And I have had some email requests on our next topic. But what's the next topic y'all want to hear? All right, the email requests that I've gotten have all been focused on fundraising.
Not surprising.
I know, shock, right?
That would be
Now,
interesting to me.
I need to clarify because I'm making an assumption and that is probably not a smart thing. Do you want to hear about fundraisers you could do? Or do you want to hear about all the things that people do to make a fundraiser successful that you might not have thought of doing?
I know it's a good bit much, but is it possible to maybe do a combination of both?
You know what? I could do two different ones. I could
Okay.
have one that's just about cool ideas and the other one. I mean, I was talking with a gentleman a week ago. He's from the Rotary Club of downtown Macon, and they do a beer festival every year that brings in $60,000 to $70,000 a year in fundraising.
Definitely put that on there.
Well, but the thing is, it's not the beer festival. I mean, if we all did beer festivals, that probably wouldn't work. But when he started talking about all the different ways they monetize that event, I mean, that just knocked my socks off.
Mhm.
So, all right, I can set up two different ones for you.
Great.
Do you want any more of these workshops before January?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
that's
I
fine.
don't either. That'd be fine.
Okay, so I'm okay. All righty, then I have my marching orders. Thank you.
Thank you for handling
I'll
all
include those same questions in the email so the other PEs have a chance to comment as well. Governor-elect George, anything you would like to add, sir?
Oh, I just appreciate you all coming out and coming up with marching orders for Margie. It's been good. Audley, I certainly appreciate you and all that you've done for us tonight. Very interesting, very good topic, very good information.
Amen. Well
Yep,
then,
we
ladies and
appreciate it.
gentlemen, we're done just a few minutes early. Audley, thank you so much. And I'm
Yes.
sure you'll be hearing from the clubs for you to come out and give some presentations. Remember, it doesn't have to be a meeting. He can come and talk with your board members.
That's good to know. That's awesome.
Very good to know. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Sure.
fantastic. Don't
So
forget to put his ringy dingy on the chat.
it's
Yeah, well,
already in the chat box, sir. You're good.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Anthony, I have another AG, Rory Robichek has agreed to serve another year. I emailed him and he finally answered my email.
Okay,
So, but I'm still working on replacing Bonnie Frogner. I need to call, I think I told Margie I was gonna do this and I haven't done it, but I need to call Juanita. What's Juanita's last name?
It's, let's see, Juanita
I want to
is.
say Cannon, but is that right? Yeah, I'm right. Juanita
Cannon.
Cannon.
Yeah, Cannon, Juanita
And,
Cannon.
and the thing that concerns me, and I wish there was a way I could find out, they say